Hello everyone, this is Ross from retrodreambeam. I'm an eBay seller full-time. I've been doing this with my fiance Netta for more than 3 years now. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm about to go into what we are shipping out today on Monday, but I completely forgot it was another post office holiday, so that's twice this year so far that I forgot. So we packed everything up. I got to the post office, and the moment I noticed no one else was there, I was like, oh, they're probably closed, but I'll double check, and then I did. And then I looked at the holidays, and then I was like, okay, shoot, waste of time. And then, but that means I got to come back home real quick, and then I get to list more where I know I'm probably going to forget next February. There's also another postal holiday. I think it's President's Day. I'm probably going to forget that too. Normally I don't. This is the first time since doing eBay. I'm normally on top of knowing when we have to ship out items, but we have a lot to go through. Sit down, buckle up. I'm about to go through it. All right, the first thing is 2 of these promo cards for a board game, Skull and Shackles. This is the Pathfinder adventure card game. They have different types. This is like their pirate themed one. It's kind of a co-op game. I've never played it, but it's always been recommended to me. You know, it'll be like based off of games you've liked, like other deck builders like Clank or other co-op story games. So eventually I'm going to find a cheap one and I can play it. But yeah, here's a promo card right here. I have to actually pull up my app on my phone to get you guys the prices, because right here is just like what our original listing was. I like this format where I can go through like the pictures if I need to for you guys. So, all right, let me pull it up real quick. All right, I pulled it up. So this one plus this one was a combo order. These end up going for $25.90 plus shipping. Everything's going to be plus shipping. So yeah, people like to add promo cards to their deck. There's a bunch of these. I'm not too sure how modular they are. I'm assuming you can add them into different like scenarios. Maybe they were different like handouts from conventions. Because I've never played the game, I'm not too sure. But I do find them occasionally, and they do slowly sell. So it's not like they're fast sellers, but they do sell. All right, moving along. Warhammer Underworld's Dreadfane, Lady Harrow's Mournflight cards right here. This, I believe, is a Rivals deck. Warhammer Underworlds is just another way to play Warhammer. This one's like more of a board game tactical style. You have hexes, you have objectives that you're trying to take over. So yeah, I got a ton of these cards, and I just lay out everything that they get. I don't know if this is like a complete Rivals deck. It is 32 cards. These decks, the players do mix and match with other cards, like they do a whole deck building thing before they like approach their match. But yeah, these are like the character cards right here. Sometimes there's 4, 5, 6, 7, depends on like what faction. There's a lot of factions. This actually did sell for $11.19 as shown right here. All right, next up, this one I'm actually not too sure what this board game is, but this is going to be 100 plus, just random bits and pieces to a board game, Vikings Invasions of England. So yeah, sometimes people just want the extra cards. Maybe they lost some characters. Maybe they need more standees. Maybe they spilled a drink on their game. Maybe they just, some of these are from an expansion. They don't have them. So yeah, I just had these like in a baggie, and I just listed them as is. This ended up going for $10 right there. All right. Moving along, we have one of these model kits. These do pretty well for us. This is just like a smaller one. It's a German Dice Bomber Ju 87 B2 Stuka. Like, I always think that military things have like these ridiculous names. I always like stumble when I'm pronouncing them. But yeah, Zvezda over here. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I've gotten their model kits before. They do pretty well. People like building them and painting them. This ended up going for $12. I've had kits go up for like 30 to 40 to 50, 60, maybe more. I don't think I've sold any for more, but it depends on like, you know, if you get a big tank, maybe it'll do better. We sold like the submarine little kits before as well. All right. Next up is going to be a bunch of random sleeves. I couldn't figure out what these went for. These are standard size. That means they fit Magic the Gathering and Pokemon cards. These are going to be like a matte feel to them. I put like nature and werewolf here. So a bunch of them are the werewolf. And then you have night, final night. This might be for werewolf, the board game. Or not like the board game. No one can like actually copyright the IP. So there's a bunch of versions of werewolf, like that type of mafia style game where everyone's handed out a roll. It's a roll deduction game. You're trying to figure out who's the werewolf. But yeah, I just decided to put these sleeves together because they were in like a baggie together. So I have no idea what game they went to, but I still put that they're standard size. I tested it with a card nearby. I don't want to like gamble on that. I don't want to just like, I could probably eyeball it at this point, but you never know. There's a lot of sleeves out there in a lot of games. Not everyone uses the standard size. $7.08 for these. Nothing too fancy. Maybe if I was able to identify them, I would have been able to get more. All right. Moving along, we have this right here. This is going to be a Game of Thrones, the card game, Guarding the Realms chapter pack right here. these are going to be cycles. Like these are sold in cycles. A Game of Thrones is a living card game. Right up there, you see that LCG. That's what they coined. You can actually use that terminology as other companies. Fantasy Flight Games, they used to make these living card games. I think they still do the, Marvel Champions, where you don't buy booster packs and get random stuff. You buy this, you come here, it tells you it contains cards 21 through 40. You get enough copies for like the number of players you're playing. Oh, there you go. 3 copies each of 20 different cards. And these games are fun. I've never played the Game of Thrones one. I want to, but I think it's a game. I think it's better suited for 4 players if I remember. And cycles also come with like usually it'll be like every 3 months the company release like a big base set, and then 3 months later it's like an extra little chapter pack that's related to the main base set that they released. This was just a way for a company to make like a card game that's not collectible but still maintain it as a business, so they can like sell stuff quarterly. But yeah, this one's pretty cool. This was my last one, even though I had a note up here that says check and relist with the same picture. This was the last one of this particular chapter pack, $9.45. Some of the Netrunner ones can go for a lot. I don't have all the prices memorized for all these living card game pack prices, but some of them are super rare and super expensive. All right. Next up is going to be a lot of 22 vintage like flat green army men toy soldiers and vehicles. I couldn't really identify what brand they were. I got a bunch of toy soldiers. I was pretty much in over my head with it. I organized all of them. I did a video on it. I think it actually has my most views, like me just organizing it. But yeah, people like the little toy soldiers from various years and they like to collect them. These ones are just interesting because they're like flat. So these end up going for $15.67. All right. Next up is going to be an incomplete Transformer. This was from my brother, I believe. He had he got this like huge toy collection. He sold all like the big parts, the main stuff, the complete things. But then he had a baggie of like bits and pieces that he hadn't gone to in years. And then he's transferred over to selling cards. And then he mostly sells wrestling cards. So he ended up giving me these. So thank you to him. I think he does watch all my videos, or at least occasionally, or he catches up and eventually watches them. Because it's a lot of time to watch, but yeah, I appreciate it. $9.03 for this one right here. So thank you to him. People still like these incomplete toys because they can, if they have the extra bits and pieces, maybe their piece on their Transformer broke and they need to like take apart like the little fin over here or something like that. But yeah, people collect all the accessories as well. A lot of people know like the accessories would be lost as kids would open them up and then lose a little bits and pieces. So sometimes like swords to certain action figures can go for a lot. All right, I'm not like an expert on toys. I'll just occasionally get them. Next up is 1776, the British story of the American Revolution. So someone just wants to update themselves by reading about the Revolution right here. You can even tell that this book is like not in the best shape, at least for the front and back cover, but still completely readable, legible. In here, you can tell like it's perfectly fine. The person can actually just read the book right there. Been doing pretty well with the historical books, the political books, the military books, just all the books we've been doing have been doing pretty well. $12.60. I think there's going to be a later one in this video. All right. Next up is going to be Beaches, the quilted lizard quilt pattern. I don't do well normally with just the patterns. I do better when you actually get like the little needle and you get the threading with it. So yeah, this one I got lucky, I think, to sell it. It's just a little guide right here. It's going to be like some paper and it has all the instructions on the inside. This ended up going for $12.47. We used to find a lot of this stuff, but we would usually pick up like the was it like cross needle stitch or something? I'm probably saying that wrong. Those kits, people like them. It depends on like which art you get to design and what brand it was. And it would, dictate the price. If you had a cool like Santa Claus one, it'd probably do better than like a generic cabin one. All right. Next up is going to be a vintage game science die right here. This person reached out. So I wasn't fully sure how to fully identify these. They reached out because I had this D10 right here and I also had some D20s that were similar colors. It's hard because I'm using like a photo box. So this is with like light on it. It looks a little bit differently, like in your palm if you don't have like a direct light on it. So it's really hard to photograph some dice sometimes. You have to do my best. I just put green right here. I didn't want to like add different colors to it. I wanted people to just like see it for themselves. But yeah, this has those indents there where you would use crayon or inking. Some of these I might have gotten were maybe from rare D&D sets. I got a bunch of dice like this, got really lucky, but they were kind of hard to identify. $18.37. They thought that this one was maybe an older game science die because they said that the one did not have a G. Sometimes they have a G for it, probably for the brand Game Science. I used to see these company with their booth at Gen Con many, many years ago. All right. Next up is going to be a combo order. The person got the Zombicide free RPG Day book right here. Zombicide's a board game. You pick characters, you fight zombies. I actually did not like this board game a lot, but it's a board game that a lot of people like, so that's like fighting words for people in the board game world. I thought it was just like plain and boring. It was one of the few games ever of all the board games I played where I just kind of like stopped playing after everyone else got like uninterested in the game. But people like it. Zombies. This was also when zombie movies were like super popular. So this game came out at a good time, and this is part 2, and then they turned it into an RPG, so you can play the game. I think this realm probably does better as an RPG, or at least in my opinion. People like the lore of these characters that you get to pick on the side. There's like hundreds and hundreds of characters and expansions for this game that you can like pick and play. All right, so they ended up spending $13.60 for the 2 booklets. I had extras of each of them, so I already relisted them. All right. Next up, this miniature is pretty cool. I like finding the unique ones. This is Relic Miniatures, Thracian Mercenary Warrior right here. Just an interesting one. Has like someone's head on like a pike and just like this general. It is a little like dirty here. They're probably going to take it out of the package. But yeah, people like to look for a specific role-playing game poses or miniatures with poses. You know, if they're doing like a story as a dungeon master and they have someone that like has a chance to take off someone's head, maybe they want it like a figure to represent it. So people use these for various sorts. End up going for $10. I have not seen this Relic Miniatures company before. All right. Next up, there goes the neighborhood, racial, ethnic, and class tensions in 4 Chicago neighborhoods and their meaning for America. So like I said, I've been doing good with all the political, military, and historical context, just like the nonfiction books. This one ended up going for $11.61. Up here, you can actually see that there's no skew, which means this is one of our first few hundred items we listed. We used to put everything on a bookshelf in a basement. So yeah, when we still had the bookshelf, we actually brought it to the storage unit. That's like one of those problems. You know when you have a problem that you know will be super satisfactory when you get it done, but because you haven't done it for so long that the thought of doing it sounds like you've thought about it so much that you've like mentally drained yourself as if you've done it, but you haven't. This is what the situation is for me. This year, I really have to get that bookshelf cleaned out, organized, all these books and SKUs. There's only a couple hundred items there, and occasionally I'll sell something from there, so there's been less items for me to organize. But yeah, this is one of those things where I have to just set aside. I know this project is a 10-hour project. It's a 1-day, 10-hour project. I could just get myself, some snacks, bring like a 2-liter of like a Dr. Pepper or something, and then bring like, like a packed, like almost like going to work day where I bring a packed lunch that's cold for like like a lunch and dinner and just knock it out. I really have to do that. All right. Sorry, that was a side tangent. 11. This was really hard to get because it's in a weird spot with a bunch of stuff in front of it. Pulling this item at the storage unit took me about 20 minutes. Like actually, maybe slightly less, but it felt painful because everything else was just go to the bin, get it, go to the bin. This was like look at the whole bookshelf, and then it happened to be in the bottom part. So as I could just go top and down, took forever. All right. Next up is going to be SPI. This is a map only. SPI is the Simulations Publications Incorporated. They do a bunch of these military games back in the day. This is the Battle for Germany. This is just the map only. This is for one of these hex games. I do eventually want to have someone show me one of these hex games. There's also like, I know a lot of rambles today, but it's going to be a long video anyway. So if people are with me, they're stuck. But yeah, there's also the train games that are 18 like double X or quadruple X games. They're just these more like crunchy games. I don't mind games being a little bit more complicated. Once you know the rules, or if you have someone that can guide you, it could be a lot of fun. This is going international for $8, so pretty cool, even though it's just a map. You can tell that these are like paper maps, so like if someone gets like, they spill something on it, they need a new map. Some of these games are really expensive if you have to buy the whole thing with the box, with the tokens, because there's a lot of tokens. So yeah, that's why people pick up the maps for me. All right, speaking of parts, moving along, Dungeon Magazine. This is a super cool magazine. I haven't found too much. When they're at auctions, people just like bid these up, whoop, 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 all the way up. Really cool. They come with a lot of inserts. If you have the inserts with them, they sell for lots. I think Annetta was the one that actually found a bunch of Dungeon magazines and Dragon magazines. She was the one that found them really cheap one time. So we're always on the lookout. This is just little tokens you can cut out right here. This is an insert. This ended up selling for $5.87, but you get these little guys that you cut out. Not everything has to be miniatures for people. Sometimes people just, put these on standees. You can just put them face down, on the map. Really cheap for someone, they spent the $5.87 plus shipping, plus they get a bunch of these monsters that they get to use and wield on their players as a dungeon master. All right. Next up, I got lucky again from the stuff my brother gave me. Vintage G1 Transformers Brawn action figure toy. I think this one was actually complete. Yeah, I think this one was pretty good right here. So yeah, this one ended up going for $9.44. People love Transformers. This is a really tiny one, so this might have been like, you know, a little toy one. It wasn't like a... They even have like, you know, like the small ones that only fold out like 3 times. People like the really complex ones, the ones that have like, you know, 40 things to change or hundreds, and then different poses and different like, you know, missiles to shoot out and lasers, or like the laser sounds and stuff and lights. All right. Next up, we have another 4 books right here, some science fiction books. Isaac Asimov right here. I've just seen this person's name before when I get like books, so I happen to put them together because they're all science fiction. I figured someone would be able to, like, you know, want to read some books by this author, and then they would enjoy it. I don't know if these are like connected story-wise. I doubt it, but I could be wrong. $12.60 for these, so nothing too fancy. All right. Next up is going to be the H in Napoleon, some kind of horse caisson right here, a worst. Just right here, like a little like carriage type of thing. Someone picked this up, and then they're like using these military miniatures. Been doing pretty well with them. $13.12 for this one. This is in the baggie, so it's not like used. All right, moving along, we have the Amazing Spider-Man comics to color. So 6 giant. I think these are like little posters or like, oh, little comic books. You can actually color them. There's just, oh, I remember these books. You know, I remember my brother and I, when we were super young, we would go to our neighbor's house across the street. This is like when I was like 4, 5, or 6, and then my older brother's, he's basically like 3 years above me, so whatever, +3 at that time. And they would do like, they would trace different Marvel stuff. They would have tracing paper, and then they would trace stuff. That's what this reminds me of. But yeah, this ended up going for $7.50. So yeah, nothing too fancy for this one. All right, where am I? All right, next up is going to be Munchkin promo card. I have a bunch of these. I also relisted this one, Flower Power. This one's super popular. This is going to be a treasure card. This is a satirical card game where your character is trying to get to level 10, and then you bust down a door, which is a monster usually, and you agree who's going to help you. And then if you defeat the monster, you get to pick so many treasures, which the card tells you from the monster. And then these treasures give you powers and abilities to make your character better so that you can get to level 10 before someone else. Yeah, I have a lot of these. People like this one. This ended up going for $4.90. This one's also going international. But yeah, this is like a, I always think like the eBay word's a little bit cringy, but this one's like a replenishable. All right. Next up, that's what people call it, is going to be a lot of 50 Warhammer 40k fantasy miniature bits and pieces. Remember I told you I got like 100, I got a big box and I made like 160 or something listings. This is just how I lay them out. I'll take like up, I'll make sure that there's like 50 pieces or so. I'll lay them out so people can see. This one is right here, this like golden, this one might have been from Warhammer Underworlds. I'm not too sure. So you can tell there's just a lot of little, there's like a Space Marine or Chaos Marine pack there. You got weapons, you got like a little boar. I could have done a better job of organizing these if I wanted, but I do pretty well with selling these, and people can have fun looking through and seeing which ones they want. This ended up going for $14.69. If I sold all of mine at like the 160 listings at, what was that? What did I just say? $14.69. I'd be looking pretty good. I would not complain. All right, moving along, we have this right here. We have these Dark Horse extra comics. These are like big issues that fold out. They're actually the hardest thing. I have a bunch of these. The hardest thing to, sorry, I interrupted myself, to bring from the storage unit back home, because they are very unbent, clean, and sharp edges and everything. So it's like, normally I get to, you know, pile stuff in a bag. This I usually have to put in the topper separately. So it creates this whole like weird thing that I have to be careful bringing it from the storage unit all the way up over here to pack it up and then make sure that we get it like nice and flat. We get a lot of compliments from feedback that they like that these are basically brand new. I have like 50 of each of these issues. Not all the issues. I don't have all the issues. There are people that ask me like, oh, do you have this other issue? And I'm like, I had what I had. But yeah, really lucky. They were sitting around me for a long time. Didn't list them. Spent one day to list them. Oh, this is Buffy. People love Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think she has like the new show on right here. So yeah, it's going to be super popular. But yeah, this is just like a big little fold out. It's only like 2 pages. I think you fold it out and it's just the 2 pages. But yeah, this ended up going for $14.69. All right. Next up is going to be, is this one? Let me move this over real quick. I lost track of where it was at. Oh no. All right, this one. This is going to be, sorry about that. This is going to be 11 GHQ various submarine miniatures. I normally don't get the submarines. I have no idea like what type of submarines these were. But yeah, they have a little I was gonna say labels. I guess they don't have labels. I just got this with the GHQ collection, or I could be wrong, but I did like measure them out so people could see the different measurements. This ended up going for $21 for those. I normally don't get the submarine, so I asked up a little bit for those. Normally I get like the tanks that you see me sell. All right. Next up is going to be another book. This is going to be like a fantasy book. This is going to be a Crossroad Adventures Darny Challenge right here. Don't know anything about this one. I listed this one relatively recently, so that's good that it sold. $14, doing pretty well with books. All right, next up is going to be in HeroClix. This one is a bigger HeroClix. It takes up 4 slots right over here. This is the Stranger figure. I think it might just be a rare. Let me see if I can, yeah, right here. And it won't let me zoom in. Right there is going to be like the set symbol, which lets you know what set it's from, and then the color is what the rarity. So like uncommon's green, common I think is white, and then silver is rare. Then there's like a bronze gold, which is super rare, and then there's also like a chase as well. Also, I think it's similar to like the bronze or whatever color, but yeah, this lets you know like how many points that this character can be. But yeah, I've been more interested in picking up more HeroClix because I saw another big seller drop out of selling HeroClix, and I've been selling more in general. So nothing crazy, $10.77. But yeah, I like to go through them. They're not too hard. They're kind of awkward to store. When I list them, I put all the cards into like a card storage container, and then I keep the HeroClix in like baggies and stuff. So it is kind of awkward to store 2 separate, it's like, you know, types of items, even though they're together, if that makes sense. All right, next up, these are going to be vintage Lego black and white pieces. I had like such a disaster with some Legos because I had 2 sets that were similar within the same box at the storage unit. I grabbed the wrong one. Someone already bought the set, and then I grabbed the wrong one and then sent it to them, and then they did a return. They're like, hey, you gave me the wrong Lego pieces. I was confused because I thought I only had 1 baggie in the box. So I had them send me a picture. I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, no. And then, well, the wrong listing was out there. Someone had bought the wrong listing. So then I told that person I had to cancel their order. And I was like, I have to wait till the return comes. And they're like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm a seller. That stuff happens too. So this one came back. And then I messaged both people. And both people didn't want to buy them anymore. So because of my mistake, I actually lost 2 sales. It was like about like $30 of sales. So that's the, I guess, the consequence. Like, it makes me feel the mistake more, as I didn't get the sale, but then someone else just came in and picked up this. But I was so paranoid picking this. I was like making sure like every piece was the same because I made a mistake the first time. So yeah, $10.49 for this one. I would have gotten like $15 or whatever last time. All right, next up is so my mistake. Moving along, we have this patch. We've been selling a lot more patches. It's been a while. It's also been a while since we list some, so when I don't list a certain category, it makes sense that, I'm not adding like new stuff for people to look. Mesa Verde, this is going to be a 100-year celebration patch, the national park. But yeah, people like to get specific patches, and they like to put them on their jean jackets, their purses, craft projects, a bunch of different places. $9.45, but it really was, we had like a period where we didn't sell one for like 6 months or something, so now these are starting to pick up. All right. Next up is a Cherished Teddy. Got like 600 of these for like, it was like 80 cents a piece or something. One of those bulk buys that we made a lot of money, and you can still, I guess you guys are still seeing me sell these. Also, Netta said that Gen Z was like picking up like snow babies and all those little tchotchkes, and they like paint them to be all like emo or dark colored, like like gothic and they're like, or clownish and stuff like that. They're just like painting their old parents like tchotchkes that the parents don't care about anymore. So yeah, this ended up selling for $14. This one's going international. This was a huge box. Normally the Cherished Teddies didn't have like a huge box like this, but yeah, this was they probably paid more in the international shipping. All right, moving along, we have this right here. I listed this recently, 5 War in the West, War in Europe board game sheets. These are just like from a board game. These are just like different, this is the errata sheet right here. This is going to be the map right there. Oh, bad picture. Look at that. I have my bin that I put it in right over there. Yep, there you go. Yeah, well, this is also like, I wanted to take a picture of the whole thing, and my photo box is too small. So I wanted to let them see like, hey, this is actually like a good quality old board game, like a rule sheet or chart or whatever, because sometimes a lot of these have like spills and stains in places. But yeah, oh, there's like a little writing right here, which is not a big deal. Someone just wrote like a little, note to themselves. Going to repeat buyer for $17.19. All right, next up is going to be this. This is Chain of Lakes Fox River for Waterway Agency. This is just a pamphlet. Also been selling a good amount of these pamphlets, brochures. We like doing the paper ephemera. It's a fun category. right here. There's some like marking down here. But I denoted that in the pictures and in the description. But yeah, someone just wants to see what like the waterways look like in this particular area. This ended up going for $17.50. But yeah, people do collect this kind of stuff. All right. Next up is going to be Fox, Bat, and Phantom. This is going to be like a tactical aerial combat board game. You can tell like they used to have these like big boxes. Look at this. Someone tried to do this back in the day, a $1 yard sale. This is what you do with yard sales. I remember I had yard sales as a kid. You put like little price stickers. They just put a tape on it, try to sell it for $1. But yeah, even though the box is beat up, this still has, let's see if I can get this to not go crazy. It still has the map. Everything looks pretty good right here. You got the extra sheets. It's a full-fledged board game. You got all the tokens. So yeah, instead I'm going for $31.50. All right, moving along, we have the 7th Expert in Interactive Medieval Adventure. This is going to be a choose-your-own adventure, kind of like, not like a, I guess like a kid's book, but yeah, just a choose-your-own adventure book. We got a bunch of these. We got like 400 to 600 choose-your-own adventure books. We actually did a video showing all of them. That was quite the video that we made, and that helped me with that one. But yeah, this ended up going for $14.69. I think this is a cool looking one. All right, moving along, we have more Matchbox Connectables. I can't remember if my brother was the one that gave me these from the toy haul or if I found these myself. So it's one of the two. I don't know if you would remember or not. But yeah, these are like little pieces that you like disconnect and connect them. I don't remember these. When I actually got these, I was like, what am I looking at? Because this thing looks like discombobulated. But yeah, I realized that these are like little pieces that come apart and you can connect them the way that you want. If you want to make like a nice big one, you want to make a small one that makes sense, do whatever you want. But yeah, $11.54 for this one. All right. Next up is going to be the World of Warcraft trading card game. This is the Gladiator set. As you can see down there, this is Gladiators, and the colors tells you what like the rarity is. That's green, so that's uncommon. These are a bunch of Warlock, Priests, and Hunters, because you have to pick it's a class in the game, as well as you have to pick Alliance or Horde, and then you have to make your deck with that particular class or neutral cards. So yeah, I just picked a couple of classes to go together so someone can go ahead and look at all the Hunter cards that they get right there. I probably should have done more top-down pictures, but I think I was having issues with lighting that day. If it was going top-down, it wasn't like focusing or something. But yeah, these end up selling for $10. It's just, oh, there is some rare in here. There's also some rares as well. So yeah, it's not like a crazy number of cards, but I looked up all the rares to see which ones were worth listing separately and listed those separately. All right. Moving along, Advanced Squad Leader. You see me sell these boards all the time. These ones are slightly different because they're actually mounted on a black board, which I don't find as much. And I asked a couple people on YouTube who do like Advanced Squad Leader for like their whole channel. And then I got a couple answers. They're like, it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's a different edition. So no one's given me like a definitive answer so far. So I noticed the black ones are more rare. I don't know if that matters much. Like it does kind of look better on the table. And then the other color is the brown color. So yeah. 5 boards here, top left corner. These are like kind of like the base sets. This one even tells you it's from the Cross of Iron expansion right there. But yeah, these end up going for $22.04. All right, next up is going to be this Shut the Box right here, Classic Games. This is not like the best quality one. You can see it's dirty. People like this game where you roll 2 dice, and I think you either get to like add or subtract them, or you get to pick 1 die, you get to put down the number, and the next person gets to do that in their turn, and you want to do all of your side, and then get to shut the box. And well, I guess there's like multiplayer ones, and this one is going to be like a single player one. We have sold ones where there's 4 people. I do think most of them are single player. So, and then you hand it off to someone else, and they want to see if they can do it in less dice rolls than you. That's it. This one kind of had like issues with like the lid right here. The lid was having issues like going on, so trying to take as many pictures of it. I feel like I maybe should have done like even more pictures of the lid. This one is just like, it looks like you would have gotten this in like a gift shop somewhere random. So it's not like the worst quality, but it's also not the best. $12.24. If you get like nice looking classic board games, they do a lot better. All right, moving along. I have to actually see if I have more of these. These are Heroes toys, whatever these like toys are. They're just like jankier ones. These aren't meant to be like kept for a long time. You have your little like police outfit here on the right, and then just like a bunch of police rescue like toy soldiers, helicopter. You can tell that the quality of this is meant to be lower. But yeah, I have to see if we have more of these. I put this in a white clothing bag over here, and then it has a bunch of stuff on like a different eBay where it has most of our clothes, because I just can't list clothes for like the life of me. It's just like a category, just it's the hardest thing for me ever, and then all the stuff never sells. I just like don't. I just don't have the passion for clothes, so I think that's why clothes is hard. But like she ended up listing these because we had a bunch of these, and I have to list 2 more. I have to like relist this. All right. Moving along, oh, $14 for those, which is pretty good, like $7 for 2 packs of toys. We have this Popeyes. This is going to be a record player, but it's for parts and or repair. I did try a little bit. I actually broke one of our like Gremlin records trying it. I actually don't know like how to use records. I'm a little bit too young for that, but I know people like it a lot. But yeah, this one we got from like a storage unit flipper. I think it was the same person who we bought the police diecast cars and stuff from, but we got this from them a long time ago. They'll get stuff and they'll sell it really cheap because they're like, okay, well, obviously it's not in the best quality, but this is something that someone can try to fix up. But this did play a little bit, but I still put it for parts and repair just because like the lights on the front or whatever don't work. I know people ask me about the lights on the front. It's like, no, it doesn't work. It's broken. Well, I still got to play a record on it, but then I broke one record. All right, $21 for that one. All right, next up is going to be this Star Wars Realms promo set 2 White Wizard Games. So this was like an interesting promo pack. This is for a game called Star Realms. It's a dueling game, deck builder game, a lot of fun. A lot of people like it. There's an app for it as well, where you have 60, I think it's 60 loyalty, and you're trying to bring down your opponent's loyalty down to 0, and you have a bunch of promos and stuff to add. This one was hard to look up because some of these promos are in different promo pack. So I wasn't like arguing with people on eBay. It was a couple people telling me like, hey, this is not actually the promo set 2. And I would send them like the link from Board Game Geek, or not the link, you can't send the link, but I would say like, hey, can you look up Board Game Geek Star Realms promo set 2? This is proper. So we'll see if this person who gets this also has issues or not. But yeah, I looked up the Star Realms promo set 2, but like I said, some of these cards come in other promo sets. So it's a weird promo thing that I was having issues with. But yeah, $10 for those. They would come in little extra packs if you want to add in these extra ships into your game. But yeah, all right, moving along, we have this right here. This is just an empty box. This is for collectible purposes. Maybe they broke their box or they just like the art. Root, a game of Will and Might and Magic. This has really good art. People like this. I actually don't like this board game. This is one of my top 10 least favorite board games, which is also fighting words in the board game world. I just did not like how the game played. It's a territory control game, so I feel like the art and like the fantasy realm and all this art to me is a disconnect from how the game works. It's kind of like just like you're aggressively taking territory in a forest, and I feel like it's mostly just like a territory control game right here. So yeah, you get to play like the 4 different factions, the cats, the birds right there, the woodland and the lions, like the little rodents, and someone gets to play the raccoon who's a vagabond. But yeah, this is just a box. This ended up going for $6 just for the box right there. All right, moving along, we have this right over here, 1980s Micro Machines, like a wristband power launcher. This one I believe I got from my brother. I have no idea if this thing like works. I tried to take pictures of everything. I did the best I could. So we'll see how this pans out with the customer, because I didn't have like a Micro Machine to test it or something. It looks like you just pull the lever and like flick it out. But yeah, $10 for this. All right, people like the Micro Machine stuff. I know that for sure. I got a bunch of generic board game crystal pieces. These might go to a specific board game. Sometimes when they're so generic, a lot of board game companies will kind of use like the same manufacturers, and then they'll start getting really similar parts where you can tell that they maybe ordered from the same place. So I couldn't identify these. But yeah, I just give that people a size, and I take pictures, and I show like a little measurement there to show like, you know, corner to corner. They could use them for a craft project. It doesn't have to be for a board game. $5.87, even without like knowing where they're from, I can still list it. All right, moving along, we have Twilight Imperium Ashes of Power. This Twilight Imperium is actually another board game I don't like, but a lot of people like it. There's a lot of lore to it. And then they made a role-playing game. This is one of the booklets. I have another one of these, so I already relisted it. It is by Fantasy Flight Games. But yeah, people like this. I think they're adding another Twilight Imperium board game expansion, if not it being already out. But yeah, $9.45 for this RPG book right here. In my opinion, people like Twilight Imperium, the board game, to just hang out with a bunch of friends for 10 hours, and then they also like the lore of the game. I don't think they care as much about the mechanics of the game. I'm really into mechanics of a board game, and it did not entice me. All right, next up is going to be Ultra Pro Green Standard Play Mat Caps right here. These are actually, so people get the board game play mats, those neoprene ones. Then they'll actually get tubes, which can connect to their backpacks, their fancy backpacks they get, or they can walk around. Because if you have like a big floppy, basically play mats or big mouse mat, like a mouse mat, they're going to get dirty. You're going to drop them. They're unwieldy to hold, so people put them in these tubes. And then they also get the caps for the tube. So yeah, a lot of accessories for card games and board games and stuff. It gets a little out of control, but they are useful for people. $8.50. All right, Told you a lot of stuff sold today. Moving along. Over the weekend, I guess. Pokemon, the marble collectible game. This was the Electabuzz bag. You would buy booster packs, which would come with a bag and then like randomized marbles. Some would be shiny, some won't. A lot of people lot up the marbles. I sell the Pokemon marbles individually. So whenever I see people sell them as like lots, I'm always like, ooh, you missed out on selling them. People love these are kind of like super rare, the marbles. They're super cool too. Like I said, this is just a bag. There's some like marks there. I had some of these as a kid. They were a blast. This ended up going for $18. All right, moving along, we have this right here, the History Channel, Civil War Journal, the Battles hardcover book right here. Like I said, doing super well with the military books and the war books and the historical ones. I mean, we've always been doing well for them for about 5 years at this point, but we've been selling more recently. $10 for that. I think books was our second best category in 2025. All right. Next up is going to be Star Wars Boba Fett. This is going to be just a comic, Twin Engines of Destruction. I think I got lucky with this comic. I normally get like, you know, IPs that people like. People like Star Wars. People like Boba Fett. That's the Mandalorian character right here. I only know a little bit about Star Wars. Watched all the movies one time, 2 days, back to back with my brother way back in the day. $8.40 for this one. All right, moving along, we have Long Island playing cards. I haven't gotten new playing cards in a long time. I'm getting a little bit more picky with the playing cards that I search out. But yeah, this is Long Island. This is for New York City. I know people are going to end up picking this up and liking it. They like to collect cards. I have a little card collection. This ended up selling for $8. Not like a crazy sale, but easy to list for me. All right, moving along, we had a combo order. This was 6 different packets for $134.40. These Battlefield miniatures, I only have a couple left, which is sad because I keep selling them. They're made in the UK, right up over there. They'll have these different identifier marks. I actually I was not able to figure out like what particular like soldiers these were, you know? Or like, so I wish I could have done better work. It's not a big deal because like they're all sold. So they got 6 packs. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, and they're all the IF category up here. 4, 5, and 6 right there. Yeah, people like collecting these, and then a couple of them I got to relist, and some of these were the last packet. So I only have a couple left, but like people are really picking them up for whatever reason. If I see these Battlefield miniatures again, the made in the UK ones, I am picking them up. All right. Move along, more metal miniatures, Revenge. This is going to be like a block and table. So this is like kind of like accessory, like terrain accessory. Someone's probably going to use this for like wargaming or like a role-playing game where you get to paint up your nice little table. It looks nice when people are playing. All right, this ended up going for, we have a lot to go through, $7.94. We're getting there. Moving along, we have Incomplete Vintage 1980s Transformer toy. Another one for my brother. So for some reason, I guess Transformers is extra popular right now. Everything goes through cycles. This is just the front parts, so someone will use this as replacement pieces right there. This ended up going for $10 for that one. But yeah, this is going to be Wind Charger, G1 Wind Charger. All right, moving along. This person got a combo order, but they paid at 2 separate times, so you're going to see the deck now and the packs later. This is going to be, this is eventually turned into Vampire, the Eternal Struggle? Vampire the Eternal Struggle, I think. But yeah, it was called Jihad at first by Wizards of the Coast. This is a full-fledged starter deck. There are some extra stuff in there because I counted up the bits and pieces, or like not the bits and pieces. I counted up like the number of cards and it looked like there were some extras. But yeah, this ended up going for $11 for the starter set. Stuff isn't super crazy. I like the art. I think people will appreciate this kind of crazy art style. I played a game recently called Sorcery, like someone taught me, and it has a bunch of for Sorcery, the people have to submit oil paintings in order to get cards printed for the Sorcery game. So that's what this kind of like art style and feel is. Not all these are oil paintings. I'm just saying people miss this type of art style because a lot of stuff's just like digital or AI at this point. But yeah, all right. Next up is going to be this. Super old listings. This is just some, what is this? Like K's Collection, Water Viaducts. There's a bunch of different ones. D&D, Castle Landscape, Terrain. So these could be multi-use. They can use probably maybe the fish tank or just for display. A bunch of cool pieces. So it's cool that this thing sold. And then today I happened to be doing a computer video instead of, in front of the shelf. But this is one of our original listings. This little dollar store, when I was actually called a dollar store and stuff wasn't more than $1. This was the backboard we had. This thing listed a couple thousand listings on its own with a white table right here in a garage. This is like, when people tell me like this is where they're at right now and they're starting, I think they're on the right path because they're being like frugal with their money and you can still get good listings and you can still sell stuff. this isn't, I would say this might not be the best pictures, but some of these are pretty good. It just shows, as long as the person can see the details of the items and stuff. But yeah, $13.23 for those 5. All right, moving along, the Geode booster packs. I had a couple of these. I had 2. The 2 sold. These are booster packs, combo order with the other person. They spent $9 each on these packs, so that's $18 right there. Wow, you get 19 cards in there. Packs usually only have like 10, 15, or 12 these days. All right, last item for the day is Warlord Games Epic Battles Miniature Battle base sprues right over here. You can see that I have 2 available. These are just going to be the bases where the miniatures slot into these pegs here. I have like, these are 4 sprues. People have to like punch them out. I just do this and I show all the measurements for all of them just so people can see if, I don't know, if they want to use it for another game or something like that, they can then check their measurements. But yeah, people have been doing a lot of miniature projects during the winter so far, at least what I've noticed. But I mean, we always sell a lot of miniature stuff, but I feel like I've been selling a lot of bases. But yeah, last item for the weekend, $18.89. I'm out of breath. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Hope everyone had a good weekend.